Arunodaya Public School through massive academic reforms. How has NEP 2020, our National Education Policy 2020, shaped your school's direction, especially in the early years?
Well, in the earlier times, the education system was entirely different. We had that chalk and board policy. We were given marks and all those things. But as NEP 2020 has come into force, now it has become the children are given more, the horizon of the children have increased a lot. Like the policy says that we should have a playway method, then it should be play-based method. The curriculum has changed. So this policy has brought lot of changes which were earlier not there. But as of now, yes, definitely it is child-centric. So the focus is on the child rather than the teacher, the classroom, or you can say other things which were not at all necessary. So the policy says concentrate on the students, whatever they want to learn, their creative thinking, critical thinking, logical thinking, reasoning, all has to be taken care of. So yes, definitely the policy has made a lot of changes in today's time and era.
Okay, ma'am. So many schools say that they align with NEP, but implementation is the real test. What does a genuine NEP compliance look like at the foundational level of nursery to class 2? What does it look like to you?
In some way it is right. Implementation part is really difficult because when the policies are framed on a larger scale, the issues that the school face is not always taken care of, maybe because the 2-tier and 3-tier cities which are there, they have challenges. Like they're saying we should have a child-based centric education. The teachers are not having any kind of training how to go about it, because we had that rote learning policy, rote learning kind of a curriculum wherein they were all marked. Now playway, so the teacher has to adapt to the new style, teach them, and then they go forward, which is not happening so much. So maybe the schools which have resources, they might be able to do it, but not all schools. So the implementation part is still not reached the 100% mark which the government thinks that it should, the board thinks that it should have. So yes, definitely there is a lacuna, there is a lack in all those things, and we need to work towards it.
Okay, ma'am. Do you feel there is room for structured formats such as quizzes or fun assessments to help children gain confidence in applying the skills that they are learning in your classroom?
Definitely. Quizzes, fun play, those Olympiads and all these things which are coming into fore now are helping the children, because children don't like to sit in the class and listen to the teacher as such. They want something visually appealing to them, and then they get attracted to it. So yes, fun learning is the key wherein the children can grow, can learn better. Their skills, whatever skills they want to have in them, can be brought forward. So yes, fun learning is always fun for the children. So it should be, assessment should be there, because it gives you growth. Using formative and summative assessment helps everybody, because it's a form of instructions which we give to the children. So for the development of the children, yes, the assessment pattern should be there. We cannot just leave them without assessing, because we ourselves don't come to know as teachers, like where does the child stand. So yes, formative and summative assessment should be part of, because it helps them to have critical thinking, logical reasoning they have. Then so it motivates them to take a step forward. Like we don't mark them, we grade them. So it's a tick mark, or it's just A+ or A1. So they know that they have to go forward. So yes, formative and summative assessment should be a part of the child's growth or their learnings.
Okay, ma'am. Since you have been participating in competitive examination for your students for many years now, how do children respond when they're given recognition for something they like? Say, for example, a best reasoning or best creative thinking. Does it change their motivation?
Any kind of recognitions, reward, prizes, awards is a definite motivational thing for the children, also for the parents. So even if it is a smaller, even if a certificate is given to them, they feel very happy about it, and they would like to participate more. So they are motivated if we reward or award them or give them small, even if a small crayon box is given to a child saying that you did well, good luck. So they are happy.
There are policy makers who are making the policy, and you are at the implementation stage being a school leader. So, at a practical school environment, what kind of support or tools help the teachers implement NEP aligned learning, especially in preschools? What do they require?
The only thing that they need is training, proper training. So, as a policymaker, as in the management, I always tell that the teacher should update themselves with the latest technology one and the latest training that they should receive in developing a child. So I would like to spend my money on teachers training and also provide children the resources that they can learn in a play-based method, maybe in a toys form, books form, or audiovisual, whatever I can provide. So as a policymaker in my school, I would like to concentrate on teachers training more, because they are the people who are with the children and they should know what is the latest trend in the market going on so that they can implement it in the class. So teachers training, definitely.
Coming to the next question, ma'am. Would you say there is a space for external platforms to supplement what schools are already doing, provided they're aligned with the same vision? Whatever you want to teach, whatever is the policy of NEP, keeping into that, not like exaggeration or a competition which requires a child to study a lot. Do you think there is a scope that an external company and program can help your teachers to get NEP aligned?
External platforms, they help. Because we are doing many things in a school in that limited span of time, in the 3 hours. If we get a help from external resources, yes, it helps the child. Yes, definitely it helps. But in little doses, the child should be introduced to the external platform also. That will help them, definitely.
Okay. So when an external program approach your school, what makes you say a yes or no to some others? Is it an alignment or a value or something else?
Yes, I look into many factors when I am wanting to introduce an external platform. First and foremost thing is that it should help my children. The first thing that I see, how they will grow knowledge wise, skill wise, thinking wise, reasoning wise, how is it going to help them? More than that, the child should be motivated at every level that they come across when the external platform is introduced. If it is not feasible, if it is not making them happy, it is boring, a rote learning kind of a thing, then I don't allow those kind of things to introduce. But yes, if today they know to write A, capital A, tomorrow with the program they should be able to write small a also, if it is helping them. Only those kind of external things I allow in my school. Otherwise, I have so many offers coming from so many people, but not everybody is given a chance, because wasting children's time is wasting our time also, and the teachers' time also.
So now, can you tell me that how open the parents today to newer kinds of early age assessments, especially ones that are skill based, playful, and multi-level? Are the parents also liking it?
In fact, the parents should like it first, then the children like, ultimately it is the parents who pay the money because they're very small. So the program should be such that it should appeal to the parents also, and they should feel that the child will benefit from this particular program, then they enroll. So we are educating the child, but in today's time the parents are quite aware. It is not like the olden days that where the parents were not knowing what the child is doing in the class, but today's parents are all educated, and then they know everything what is happening in the market, and because of this YouTube and Instagram and all those kinds of things, external things, they are updated in all kinds of educational things that they want to know. So they want, provided you give them. If your material is good enough, the parents say yes. They don't have any problem. But if your material is not good, they will not enroll. So it is the duty of the external factors that those are coming to us, that their product should be such that should appeal to the parent as well as to the child. Parents from my school, earlier I used to not have anything to do with the pre-primary grade children, like I used to not have. But it was the parents only who approached me and said that, ma'am, you should have something for grade nursery, junior and senior. We want some program. So why don't you introduce someone to the school for this grade? So it kept me thinking, yes, parents want it and they want more for the children because so much of competition is there, not at this stage, but at the later stage. So yes, they want to equip their child with the latest, whatever they can offer, so that they can hone their skill and become a better student. Yes, there is a rise from the parent side too.
So last question, ma'am. If you could design a pan-India initiative for foundational learning, what key element would you insist on above everything else? What should be that one important thing in foundational learning which you will implement if you are a designer for a pan-India program for early childhood?
As I have replied to this question before also, I will go for teachers training, hardcore teachers training. My teachers have to be updated, upgraded at every level. So yes, of course, I'll focus on teachers training. Also, we should train the children, teachers for inclusivity, children are not all children. You can't detect them at this age, you don't come to. So they have to be trained to have these kind of children also under their wings, because our teachers are not trained to take care of children, those who are not so good or they are facing some problem. So training to deal with these kind of children also should be given to the teachers, because you can't have special schools everywhere, no? So, and if you say inclusivity should be there, then you train the teachers in such a way that they can handle those children. Otherwise, they are so frustrated when they come to us and say, I can't handle this child, because their education is not such. No, they have done their B.Ed and they are coming. So, taking into account all the inclusive children also, if you want to go ahead with all of them together as a policy from the CBSE board, we must train the teachers to deal with all this kind of thing. So yes, teachers training is very, very important in any kind of education, whether it is inclusive or not inclusive.
So can I decipher from this that when the B.Ed training is happening, there can be a specialized teaching for handling the special need children?
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Yes. Special abled children, you should train them. I strongly feel about it. Training should change now. The B.Ed training should have a subject, or should give them lectures or send them somewhere if you don't have a tutor to teach you, to get a certification for those also. So maybe in future, in 8 to 10 years, you might have teachers who have done those courses. So definitely it will help the children.
We hope this reaches the policymakers and not 8 to 10 years. And
I really hope.
There are a lot of challenges which the new age children are facing, which earlier either did not come into light or it was not there so much because of the digital influence in the teachers. There are a lot of bad effects which are happening in even the smaller kids. So it is a very high time that the policymakers make something to train the teachers of preschools of every school in every part of the country who can handle this type of children and help them grow.
Definitely. They should also know to learn. Psychologists should also be added to their training. I feel they should learn to know the psychology of a child, So inclusive special training, they should have the psychology as one of the subjects so that it can help the teacher to know the child better. So definitely, I feel very strongly for this.
Okay. I can't stop myself asking you one more question, which of course last one I said was the last, but this one, how do you feel being in this profession? You could have been anything else also. You could have been a doctor, engineer working somewhere, or be a dancer or whatever. But how do you feel being in a profession which is surrounded by education? How do you feel starting from a teacher's level till the policymaker in the school, being a director? How has your journey been and what do you like about it?
Of course, I started my journey being a nursery teacher. I taught up to LLB. From nursery till LLB children, I have no other profession gives you this kind of a happiness, like, So yes, of course, I feel I chose a right profession. I can make a difference in a child's, even one child in a year, one child, if I can make a difference, it's quite a lot for me. Of course, I cannot change the whole world, but then even if I can make that one child feel special, and the child remembers me when the child is 30 and 40-year-old, I think I have made my journey like worthwhile till I am in this. I don't know how many more years I will be in this profession, of course till retirement, but I want to be connected with this till I'm living, and I get to meet people like you who are also equally doing good in life.
Thank you. It's such a blessing
So
for
yes,
us.
my journey has been long, tedious, hard. A lot of times we fall down, a lot of times you get up, like, you keep walking.